603 kilometers per hour. On the ground, that's faster than most small airplanes fly, faster than a Formula One race car at full throttle, faster than a falling skydiver. And it's not some experimental rocket sled, it's a train carrying passengers today. A train that levitates 10 centimeters above the track. A train that Japan will let you ride in 2027. While most of the world is stuck in traffic going 30 kilometers per hour, Japan has built machines that travel 20 times faster. And they're not stopping there. Their next target? Even faster speeds that will make today's jets look slow. Hey everybody, and thanks for tuning into our channel. My name is Thomas. The future is now, and we are here to explore and reveal all the latest and greatest technological breakthroughs from around the world. Be sure to subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on our daily uploads. Now let us dive in. Let me start with a number that will change how you think about ground transportation forever. 320 kilometers per hour. That's how fast Japan's standard bullet trains each travel every single day. Not in tests, not occasionally, every day. 40 million passengers riding at speeds that would get you arrested on any highway on Earth, if that was even possible. To put that in perspective, the fastest speed limit anywhere in the world is 160 kilometers per hour on some German autobahns. Japan's trains travel twice that fast, and we are just getting started. For the general public right now, the trains are still the world's fastest. Think about what 320 kilometers per hour actually means. You're covering 89 meters every single second. That's almost the length of a football field per second. Blink your eyes and you've traveled 25 meters. In the time it takes to read this sentence, you've gone half a kilometer. It's a speed that human brains aren't really wired to comprehend because we never experienced it until recently. But here's where it gets absolutely crazy. 320 kilometers per hour. That's just the beginning. That's the everyday speed, the normal operations. Because Japan isn't satisfied with fast. They want impossible. In 2015, on a test track in Yamanashi, something extraordinary happened. The L0 series Maglev accelerated. 400 kilometers per hour. 450, 500, 550, 600. And then it kept going. 603 kilometers per hour, the fastest any train has ever traveled in human history. Let me help you understand how fast that actually is. At 603 kilometers per hour, you travel 167 meters per second. You're covering the length of 1.5 football fields every single second. In 1 minute, you travel 10 kilometers. In 10 minutes, 100 kilometers. A distance that takes most people over an hour to drive, this train covers in 10 minutes. Tokyo to Osaka, normally a 5-hour drive, theoretically possible in under 50 minutes at this speed. But comparing it to cars doesn't capture it. Let's compare it to airplanes. A Boeing 737, one of the most common commercial aircraft, has a cruising speed of around 850 kilometers per hour. This train, on the ground with passengers, reaches 71% of that speed. It's traveling at speeds where most propeller planes can't keep up. Small private jets would only be slightly faster. You're going jet airplane speeds without ever leaving the ground. And here's what blows my mind. This isn't the theoretical maximum. This is just what they've tested so far. The engineers believe they can go faster. Much faster. How much faster? Let's talk about what's coming. Japan's next-generation Maglev system has a target operational speed of 500 kilometers per hour for regular passenger service. That's their goal for the trains that will open in 2027, connecting Tokyo, Nagoya, and Osaka. 500 kilometers per hour as normal cruising speed. Every single day. Multiple trains per hour, carrying hundreds of passengers each. Think about that journey. Tokyo to Nagoya is currently 1 hour 40 minutes on the fastest Shinkansen. At 500 kilometers per hour, 40 minutes. You'll spend more time walking through the station than actually traveling between cities. Tokyo to Osaka, normally 2.5 hours, about 1 hour at Maglev speeds. You could live in Osaka, work in Tokyo, and commute faster than most people drive across Los Angeles. But even 500 kilometers per hour isn't the limit. In testing, they're pushing harder. 600, 700. How fast can a train actually go? The answer depends on several factors, but theoretically, trains could reach speeds approaching the speed of sound. That's over 1,200 kilometers per hour. Now, there are massive engineering challenges at those speeds. Air resistance becomes enormous. G-forces in turns become problematic, but it's not physically impossible, and Japan is working on it. Let me explain what makes these insane speeds possible. It all comes down to one simple thing: friction, or rather, eliminating it entirely. Traditional trains have wheels on tracks, metal on metal. At low speeds, that's fine. But as speed increases, friction becomes the enemy. It creates heat, it causes wear, it limits top speed. No matter how powerful your engine, wheel-based trains max out around 350 to 400 kilometers per hour. You just can't go faster with wheels. So Japan did something radical. They eliminated the wheels entirely. The L0 series Maglev doesn't have wheels. It doesn't touch the track. Instead, it uses superconducting magnets cooled to minus 269 degrees Celsius. At these extreme temperatures, the magnets generate incredibly powerful magnetic fields with zero resistance. These magnets on the train interact with magnets in the track, creating a repelling force so strong it lifts the entire train 10 centimeters into the air. 10 centimeters doesn't sound like much, but it's enough. The train floats completely. No contact, no friction. And without friction, speed limits disappear. The only thing slowing you down is air resistance. And that's where the engineering gets really interesting. At 300 kilometers per hour, air resistance is significant but manageable. At 400, it's a major force. At 500, it's enormous. At 600, you're fighting a wall of air. So how do you go faster? You make the train cut through air like a knife. The L0's nose is 15 meters long, extremely pointed, aerodynamically optimized through thousands of hours of wind tunnel testing. Every curve, every surface, every detail designed to slip through air with minimum resistance. But even that's not enough at extreme speeds, so they're researching something even more radical: reduced pressure tubes. Imagine the train traveling inside a tube where much of the air has been removed. Not a complete vacuum, but significantly lower pressure than normal atmosphere. With less air, there's less resistance. With less resistance, you can go much faster. China is already testing this concept with their T-flight system, reaching 620 kilometers per hour in reduced pressure tubes. And their ultimate goal, 1,000 kilometers per hour. Think about that. 1,000 kilometers per hour on the ground. That's faster than most commercial jets cruise. That's approaching the speed of sound. At that speed, you could travel from Beijing to Shanghai over 1,000 kilometers in about 1 hour. The entire journey faster than most people's daily commute. Now, Japan hasn't announced 1,000 kilometer per hour targets yet. But knowing Japanese engineering, if someone else is pushing those speeds, they're definitely researching it. They don't like being second in anything related to trains. Let me tell you what it actually feels like to ride one of these trains at 320 kilometers per hour, because the experience is surreal. You board at Tokyo Station. The train is spotlessly clean. You find your seat. Exactly on schedule, the train departs. And here's the crazy thing: you barely feel the acceleration. The train smoothly increases speed, 50 kilometers per hour, 100, 150, 200. There's no dramatic push, no engine roar, just smooth, continuous acceleration. And then you look out the window and realize you're flying. The landscape is a blur. Buildings flash past so fast you can't focus on them. Cars on parallel highways look like they're standing still. You're overtaking them, like they're parked. The ground is rushing by at a speed that makes your brain scream, "This is too fast," but your body feels almost nothing. The ride is smooth, quiet. You could balance a coin on edge on your tray table. That's the genius of these systems. They don't just go fast, they go fast smoothly. Because speed without comfort is just a rough ride. But speed with perfect smoothness? That's magic. That's technology that makes you feel like you're living in the future. Now let's talk about the competition, because Japan isn't the only country chasing extreme speeds. China's Shanghai Maglev, opened in 2004, operates at 430 kilometers per hour commercially. It's the fastest operational train ride you can buy a ticket for right now. The 8-kilometer journey from Pudong Airport to downtown Shanghai takes just 7.5 minutes. You board, the train accelerates to 430, and before you've finished reading the safety information, you're there. But China isn't stopping at 430. Their newest experimental Maglev reached 620 kilometers per hour in testing. That's faster than Japan's record, and they're aiming even higher. The T-flight system, running in reduced pressure tubes, has a target speed of 1,000 kilometers per hour. If they achieve that, it would be absolutely revolutionary. Ground transportation faster than air travel for many routes. And this creates a fascinating dynamic. Japan and China pushing each other to go faster and faster. Japan held the record at 603. China hit 620. What's next? 650? 700? The competition is driving innovation faster than either country could achieve alone. But speed creates challenges. The faster you go, the harder every problem becomes. Take turning, for example. At 50 kilometers per hour, you can turn relatively sharply. At 300, even gentle curves create substantial forces. At 600 kilometers per hour, curves must be extremely gradual, or the G-forces become uncomfortable or even dangerous. That's why Japan's Maglev routes are built incredibly straight. Long sections of perfectly straight track. When curves are necessary, they're spread over kilometers, so gentle you barely notice them. But building that straight requires massive civil engineering. Tunnels through mountains, bridges across valleys. The Shinkansen Maglev line between Tokyo and Nagoya will be 86% tunnels. 86% of the route underground to maintain straight paths for maximum speed. And then there's the problem of stopping. At 600 kilometers per hour, momentum is enormous. The train weighs hundreds of tons and is moving at incredible speed. How do you stop that safely? Traditional brakes aren't enough. The L0 uses multiple braking systems working together. Regenerative braking that converts motion to electricity. Electromagnetic brakes that use magnetic resistance. Aerodynamic brakes that deploy panels to create air resistance. All of these working together to stop the train within a reasonable distance. But here's what really demonstrates Japan's engineering brilliance. They don't just make trains go fast, they make them go fast safely. And not just safely, but perfectly safely. The Shinkansen has operated for 60 years at speeds over 200 kilometers per hour, carrying billions of passengers through earthquakes and typhoons, and has never had a single passenger fatality due to accident. Not one. 0 deaths in 60 years at these insane speeds. How is that possible? Because Japanese engineers obsess over safety at every level. They built earthquake detection systems that can stop trains before dangerous shaking arrives. They designed aerodynamics that prevent derailment in typhoon winds. They created monitoring systems that check every train, every track, every component constantly. Speed is impressive, but speed with perfect safety for 60 years? That's almost unbelievable. And that's what makes the coming Maglev so exciting. They're taking 60 years of safety expertise and applying it to trains that go twice as fast. The L0 isn't just faster, it's safer than anything before it. More sensors, more redundancy, more monitoring. Everything learned from 6 decades of operation incorporated into a system that will travel at speeds that seemed impossible a generation ago. Let me paint you a picture of what's coming in 2027. You're at Tokyo Station. You walk to the Maglev platform. The train is waiting. Sleek, futuristic. You board. Find your seat. The doors close. The departure time arrives. And then something magical happens. The train lifts. You feel a slight vibration as the magnetic levitation activates. The train is now floating, hovering 10 centimeters above the track. Then acceleration begins. Smooth, continuous. The train accelerates faster than any conventional train could. 100 kilometers per hour, 200, 300, 400, 500. You're pressed gently back in your seat by the acceleration, but it's not uncomfortable. Just a gentle push. And then you reach cruising speed, 500 kilometers per hour. You glance out the window and the world is a complete blur. You can't even distinguish individual objects, just colors streaming past at a speed your brain can barely process. 40 minutes later, you're in Nagoya. A journey that used to take nearly 2 hours now takes less time than most people's daily commute. You didn't fly, you didn't take a rocket, you took a train. A train traveling at speeds that were pure science fiction just a few decades ago. And this is just the beginning. The Maglev line will eventually extend to Osaka, then potentially to other cities. Speeds might increase further. 600 kilometers per hour operationally? 700? The technology has no obvious limit until you approach supersonic speeds, and even that's theoretically possible with the right engineering. Think about what this means for the future. Imagine 2040. You wake up in Sapporo in northern Japan. You have a meeting in Fukuoka in the south. That's over 2,000 kilometers. Today, you'd need to fly. In 2040, you board a Maglev. The train travels at 700 kilometers per hour average speed. 3 hours later, you're in Fukuoka. The entire length of Japan in 3 hours on the ground. Or imagine 2050. Maglev networks connecting all of East Asia. Tokyo to Seoul, to Beijing to Shanghai. All connected by trains traveling at 600 to 800 kilometers per hour. The entire region functioning as one massive integrated zone because distance has become almost irrelevant. That's not fantasy, that's extrapolating from technology that already exists and works. And here's what excites me most. Every speed barrier that's broken makes the next one easier. Breaking 600 kilometers per hour proved it's possible. Breaking 700 will prove that's possible. Eventually, 800, 900. Each milestone makes the next less daunting. We're watching the gradual conquest of speed limitations that seemed absolute just decades ago. But let me talk about something that often gets overlooked when discussing speed: the economic implications. When trains can travel at 500 to 600 kilometers per hour, they fundamentally change the economics of transportation. At those speeds, trains compete with airplanes for routes up to 1,500 kilometers, maybe even 2,000 kilometers when you factor in airport time. That's significant because most human travel happens in that range. Business trips, visiting family, weekend getaways. Right now, those trips require either long drives or flights. But if a train can make the journey in 1 to 2 hours, city center to city center, with no security lines and no airport hassles, the train wins. It's faster, cheaper, more convenient. This is already happening in Japan. The Tokyo-Osaka air route used to be incredibly busy. Now most people take the Shinkansen because it's more convenient despite being slightly slower than flying. When the Maglev opens, cutting the journey to 1 hour, flying that route will become almost pointless. Who's going to deal with airports when a train is faster door to door? The same pattern will repeat globally as these systems spread. China is experiencing it now. Europe is seeing it. Eventually, high-speed rail will dominate medium-distance travel worldwide. And that's good news for everyone. Trains are more efficient, cleaner, and more pleasant than flying these distances. Let me tell you about one more speed record that doesn't get enough attention. The French TGV holds the conventional rail speed record at 574 kilometers per hour, set in 2007. That's a train with wheels on tracks, not magnetic levitation. 574 kilometers per hour on conventional technology. To achieve this, they used a specially modified train, specially prepared track, and optimal conditions. But they proved it's possible. Why does this matter? Because it shows that even without Maglev, extreme speeds are achievable. Maglev is faster, yes, but conventional high-speed rail can also reach incredible velocities, and conventional rail is cheaper to build. So countries have options: spend more for Maglev and reach 600 plus kilometers per hour, or spend less for conventional rail and reach 400 to 500. Either way, you're going fast enough to compete with flying. This creates an interesting future scenario. Maglev for flagship routes between major cities where maximum speed justifies the cost. Conventional high-speed rail for broader networks where 400 kilometers per hour is sufficient. Both technologies advancing simultaneously, both getting faster and cheaper, both transforming how humans travel. Now let me address something people always ask. What's the theoretical maximum speed for a train? The answer is complicated. On open track with perfect conditions, trains could theoretically approach the speed of sound, about 1,220 kilometers per hour at sea level. But practical limitations kick in long before that. Air resistance increases with the square of velocity, so doubling your speed quadruples air resistance. At 800 kilometers per hour, air resistance is enormous. At 1,000, it's overwhelming. You need tremendous power just to maintain speed. That's why reduced pressure tubes are so attractive. Remove the air, remove the resistance, go much faster. But even in reduced pressure, there are limits. At extremely high speeds, even small amounts of air create significant heating. The train's surface gets hot from air friction. Components must withstand these temperatures. Passenger comfort becomes challenging because even slight accelerations create notable g-forces at extreme speeds. So while 1,200 kilometers per hour might be theoretically possible, practical operations will probably max out around 800 to 1,000 kilometers per hour for the foreseeable future. But even that is absolutely revolutionary. 1,000 kilometers per hour means you could cross Japan end to end in 2 hours, travel from Paris to Moscow in 3 hours, cross the United States in less than 5 hours. Continental distances become trivial, and we're close to that reality. China is testing systems targeting 1,000. Japan is researching further speed increases. Within 20 years, 1,000 km/h trains might be operational. Within 40 years, they might be common. We're living through the emergence of a technology that will define 21st century transportation. Here's what I find most exciting about this race for speed. It's not just about going fast for the sake of going fast. It's about fundamentally changing human geography. For all of history, distance mattered. Cities far apart were separate. Different economies, different cultures, different everything. But when you can travel between them in 30 minutes, they merge. They become one place with multiple centers. This is already happening in Japan. The bullet trains created mega regions. Cities 300 kilometers apart function as one integrated zone. People live in one, work in another, shop in a third. The economy spans the entire region, and that's at 320 kilometers per hour. Now imagine the same thing at 600 kilometers per hour. Cities 1,000 kilometers apart become neighbors. The scale of integration grows exponentially. We're approaching a world where physical distance becomes largely irrelevant for human activities. Where you live in Tokyo and work in Osaka, commuting daily. Where businesses operate across entire continents as if it's one city. Where cultures blend and merge because travel is so easy. The world is shrinking, not in size but in effective distance, and trains traveling at 600 to 1,000 kilometers per hour are making it happen. Let me share one final thought about speed. There's something almost spiritual about traveling at 600 kilometers per hour on the ground. It's a speed that humans never experienced in all of history until the last few decades. For millions of years, the fastest humans could travel was the speed of a running horse. Maybe 60 kilometers per hour for short bursts. We evolved in a world where speed was limited. Then, in the 20th century, everything changed. Cars, planes, trains. Suddenly humans could travel at speeds our ancestors couldn't imagine. And now we're pushing further. 600 kilometers per hour, 700, 1,000. We're creating experiences that no human in history could have, sitting comfortably in a train, reading a book, drinking coffee while traveling at speeds that would terrify our grandparents. That's the real story here. Not just that trains are fast, but that human ingenuity keeps pushing boundaries that seemed absolute. We keep finding ways to go faster, safer, more efficiently. The 603 kilometers per hour record will be broken. 700 will be achieved. Eventually, 1,000. And each barrier we break proves that the next one is possible. We upload videos almost daily exploring the most amazing technological breakthroughs from around the world. Subscribe so you don't miss anything, and let us know in the comments what speed from this video amazed you the most. Have you ever experienced high-speed rail? What's the fastest you've ever traveled on the ground? We'd love to hear from you, and we reply to all comments. Also, if there are any technologies you'd like us to cover in future videos, let us know. Comment the exact minute where I blew your mind the most. The highest voted comment gets pinned, and I'll make a full video diving deeper into that topic. See you in the next one.